Namaste. We often see people around us who are worried, not at ease. Seems they are always living on the edge, and often there is no justifiable apparent reason for their behavior. Some of them, mind you, not all, could be suffering from generalized anxiety, a very common disorder, but the psychological cause is not understood by many. Today we will discuss generalized anxiety disorder with our psychoanalysis consultant, Mr. Himanshu Vaidya. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
So let me start off with knowing what is generalized anxiety disorder.
It is a disorder where a constant feeling of restlessness and worry they predominate the mind of the person. And this uh, condition where more often than not the person finds himself in a state of restlessness and worry, it continues for more than 6 months. And there is no apparent cause most often in the environment where one can easily pinpoint in most cases that this is why the anxiety is. And because the cause is not known in most cases, I'm not saying all cases, but in most cases, it becomes all the more difficult to treat the cause because we don't really know in a very sharp and accurate manner what the cause is. And it's almost like saying, जाने क्यों ये बेकरारी है. We don't know why this anxiety is there, but it seems to be a pervasive feature of the man's life, and it goes on for more than 6 months, and during those 6 months it is more on than off. So this condition which causes great impairment to the person in terms of quality of life in the professional area and personal area, this is what we call as a generalized anxiety disorder.
So, what are the normal symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder? Like, how do you identify?
Yeah. So the primary symptoms are, as I said, worry and restlessness. But to be more specific, there are six of them identified. One is worry, restlessness, blankness of mind, muscle tension, fatigue, uh, difficulty in sleeping, all this, and there are some more. These six are identified by DSM, but in fact, in practice, you will find much more reporting of psychosomatic symptoms also, of nausea, of occasional blurred vision, of occasional and circumscribed vertigo, and so on. So, in strictest terms, the six criteria are given by DSM, but in practice, you will find people reporting, apart from these six, many other minor symptoms which go along with generalized anxiety disorder uh, in a variety of cases.
Sir, again, is there any particular age where this particular disorder, the onset of this particular disorder happens?
Uh, Not in a very specific sense. You can have this generalized anxiety disorder quite early in life, and uh, the most common onset is after puberty. Okay? That the most chronic cases that we see the beginning of that neurotic difficulty post puberty, around puberty. And in some cases, we do see the beginning quite early in life. Okay? So we can see in a few rare cases someone uh, as early as 7 to 8 years of age into this area. So this can occur at a on a broad spectrum of age. Some people can also develop it post midlife crisis. Some people can also develop it post retirement. Some people may develop it related after a divorce or after a financial loss or some professional or personal loss. So across the spectrum of age, the sickness can make an appearance.
So, what is the psychoanalytic explanation of the causation of this disorder?
Psychoanalysis has a basket full of explanation for this disorder. So each school has at least, I would say, not less than two explanations of why generalized anxiety disorder can happen. Because anxiety and sadness, these are very common features in a variety of sicknesses. But specifically to generalized anxiety disorder, uh, from a Freudian standpoint, one would look at Oedipal explanation. So first psychoanalytic explanation would be the Oedipal explanation. The second would be the paranoid schizoid split being open. The third would be the formation of a fragile, unhealthy self, which is prone to disintegration, and therefore the anxiety. Fourth would be inability to internalize a good, reliable, stable object, and therefore inability to build a core, soothing core within oneself, and therefore inability to cope with the stresses which are coming up. Fifth would be uh, the murderous and torturous rage towards caregiver or parents, which is trying to come up, and in response to whose movement towards the conscious mind, the signal anxiety is coming up, which we are analyzing or diagnosing as generalized anxiety disorder. So each school would have
Yes.
its own explanation, and most of the schools would have at least two or three different explanations where they would say these two or three phenomena can lead to a persistent feeling of anxiety, which from DSM standpoint we would diagnose as generalized anxiety disorder.
So, how does psychoanalysis proceed with the healing of generalized anxiety disorder?
Uh, the therapy in terms of duration goes by the intensity of the problem, whether it is mild, moderate, or severe. In mild cases, we are looking at once or twice a week for 6 months, sessions of 1 hour each. In moderate to severe cases, we are looking at 3 to 4 days or 2 to 4 days. In moderate cases, 2 to 4 days or 2 to 3 days, let me say for moderate, and 3 to 4 days for severe in terms of what this is all about. So that is with respect to duration. Sorry, I forgot to mention the time frame. So for mild, we are looking at uh, once or twice for 6 months. For moderate, we are looking at twice or thrice per week for 1 year. And for severe, we are looking at 3 to 4 days per week for 2 years. That is with regard to duration. Now, with regard to how it is done, uh, in this entire chapter, the most important thing in therapy and healing is to first create a safe space for the person. That the person should feel the therapy room is a safe space which is not flaming his anxieties further. So this is a soothing space. This is a calming down space. This is a peaceful space. So when he lies down on the couch, he should feel that feeling of peace, stillness, silence, and soothing inside of him. So the first element in doing healing is first to create a safe space for the person where he feels he is not being attacked, he can articulate whatever he wants to, and he will be unconditionally accepted and not persecuted or attacked. So first is to create a safe space and provide holding. So to start with, in this particular chapter, the Cohusian psychoanalytic stance of providing a safe space, providing holding and empathy to the person, at times if necessary even joining in or committing a sin of omission by not interpreting.
Mhm.
That is the first part of that healing process, followed by which, once the person comes into his elements a little, we can proceed with the classical psychoanalytic interpretative work. There, we will have to look at what pathology in phenomenological terms we are dealing with. If we believe that the anxiety disorder is because of a Oedipal problem, we might go the Freudian route. If we believe it is because of disintegration of self, we may go more in the Cohusian route. If we believe it is more because of the split being open, we may go in the Kleinian route. Or if we believe we are dealing essentially with signal anxiety, we may go the ISTDP route. So, in terms of deeper interpretative work, once the initial holding cohesion part is over, the specifics of the case, which by then we would have a fair knowledge of and fair grip over in terms of pathogenesis and healing plan, those specifics will guide us as to how to further do therapy and which school and which process in terms of the specifics we should follow thereafter.
So we hear a lot about holistic healing these days. So does holistic healing have a role in healing or managing this disorder?
Yes, it does. Uh, any space which provides the person with unconditional acceptance, soothing, and support is welcome in this area. Second, certain practices in Reiki and pranic healing also bring in a very strong element of relaxation, and that calms down anxiety. So, some practices of Reiki, especially where you lie down, listen to the music, and just give Reiki to yourself.
Yeah.
In pranic healing, where people do what is called grounding or rooting, where they root those energies down into the earth. In pranayam, certain ways of breathing, like belly breathing or certain particular forms of breathing, where you breathe in by the nose and you exhale by the mouth, right? Or certain particular rhythms of breathing. Okay? Uh, Certain forms of art therapy, certain forms of psychodrama, relaxation music, especially music that involves panpipe music, or certain forms of flute music, or certain forms of natural sounds of water moving in rivers, or the sound of the forest, or hypnotherapy relaxation, or homeopathy. All of these uh, will certainly help the person in uh, reducing down his anxiety for a short or a long period of time, provide him with a peaceful state of mind, which is so relieving to him that he would give his fortune to really get into that state of mind away from that ceaseless anxiety, which is so discomforting.
Absolutely.
So I think the holistic healing has a very strong role to play here, both as a supportive and as a healing agent based upon what is the extent of pathology, right? What is the type of personality, and therefore which healing tool fits in the best. But if done judiciously, I believe it's a very strong tool to both support and heal.
Okay. Right. Sir, and how about patient education, which is always important? So,
Yeah.
how does it
I,
happen?
I think it's very important, and unfortunate part is it does not happen. Right? It should happen, but it does not happen because psychiatrists are overloaded, psychotherapists are overloaded, and as a standard operating procedure, at least in practice in India, we have not put that in high order of priority or significance. So it does not happen often as adequately as it should be. I believe it needs to be done much more vigorously, both by psychiatrists, therapists, if they don't have time, by their assistants, And we need a basket full of audiovisual material
Right.
on YouTube. Government of India and its registered medical hospitals like AIMS or somebody equivalent to AIMS,
Mhm.
where quality material can be brought out by AIMS or NIMHANS on this particular topic of child patient education and caregiver education.
Right.
Now, what happens when you give adequate patient education?
Hmm.
When you do it adequately, certain things happen. First, the moment the person knows why probably he is having anxiety, even if not with certitude, even the probabilistic knowing of the cause of his anxiety brings down his anxiety by quite some extent. That infinite anxiety of the unknown goes away.
Hmm.
So in a sort of way, he is partly rehabilitated. Second, he knows the do's and don'ts of what will aggravate the situation, what will heal the situation. So he is able to manage better. Third, he knows what to report and how to report to the psychiatrist or the therapist because he knows what is significant and not significant with respect to his suffering. Fourth, he knows by direct experience efficaciousness of medicine or therapy approach followed by evaluating it over a period of 2 to 3 months whether it is working or not working. Fourth, he is able to create a set of holistic tools for himself in a more informed scientific manner. So there is no trial and error, and there is no superstition. He can, on the basis of scientific knowledge, select and practice holistic tools. And fifth, he can manage his responses when his parents or caregivers are not behaving as they ideally should. He does not create a secondary panic in response to their hysterical behavior, which may come out of their own ignorance and inability to control themselves.
So that makes the family members and the caregivers education equally important.
Yes.
So what are the things that they should be careful about?
Many things, in fact, the significance of their education is this, psychoeducation is this, that they don't add to the anxiety of the patient. Often when the patient gets into anxiety, the parents also get into anxiety and they act in a hysterical mode,
Mhm.
in a dysregulated mode, and that flames further the anxiety or irritation in the patient himself. So I think regulation of self-regulation of parents or caregivers and thereby creating a more peaceful, supportive environment to the patient is the first and very important gain of adequate caregiver education. Second, they can find out, like the patient, what is working and what is not working in terms of medicines or in terms of therapy approach. Third, they can help the patient collect a set of holistic tools or set of support groups which are salutary to the patient. Fourth, uh, they know what to record, what not to record when they go along with the patient to express to the therapist or psychiatrist uh, what is happening to the patient as an informant. So they become far better, more efficient informants. And lastly, fifth, uh, they are able to manage themselves better and prevent themselves getting infected by what is called secondary problems, secondary depression, secondary anxiety, which develop in caregivers when over a long period of time they are giving care to any person with deeply troubled psychological issues or deeply troubling psychological issues, including severe generalized anxiety disorder. So these are very, very important elements of gain when we do adequate caregiver education. Both patient education and caregiver education are very important elements of the mental health ecosystem, which we have unfortunately not addressed enough.
It is always a pleasure talking to you, getting to learn more about uh, everything. Today, it was the generalized anxiety disorder that you shared our insights on. Thank you very much, sir. And it is again always a pleasure to speak to you. Friends, today we discussed key aspects of generalized anxiety disorder. In our subsequent videos, we will be covering many such disorders from the DSM-5 series. Do keep watching, write your comments, your feedback, and you can even write to us at hvindia@gmail.com. Keep mailing us, we wait for your feedback. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.